For over 500 years, Earth had been nothing more than a memory, a graveyard planet, scorched by its own flames, swallowed by silence. In the archives of the Galactic Council, Earth was marked extinct. The humans were gone, wiped out in the Great Collapse. No one questioned it anymore. They were just another failed species that burned too hot and too fast. No visitors ever came near the solar system. It was haunted space, a dead zone of drifting satellites and dust. But on a cold morning, aboard the galactic listening post, Zaytanine, buried deep inside a gas cloud in Sector 12, a signal came through loud, clean, unmistakably human. The signal wasn't accidental. It wasn't a burst of static or a fading ghost transmission. It was deliberate, carried structure, language, and something more chilling, a pulse. It repeated in a perfect rhythm like a heartbeat. And at its center was a voice, calm and ancient. "This is Earth's command. Sovereign Beacon 7 activated. Human territory. Do not trespass." Then silence. The message looped every 43 seconds. The technician who caught it dropped his drink. It shattered on the floor. He ran screaming down the hallway to alert command. By the time the message repeated for the 20th time, the entire listening post was under lockdown. Ships were recalled. Systems were scanned for corruption, but the data was clean. The coordinates were exact. The signal was coming from Earth. The Galactic Council heard the news. Their golden chamber fell into chaos. Ambassadors from across the galaxy shouted over one another. Some demanded immediate investigation. Others called it a trick, a remnant echo, a cruel hoax. But deep down, they all felt the same cold fear. If the signal was real, if humans had returned, then something had changed, something dangerous. To the Council, humans were not just extinct, they were erased. It wasn't public knowledge, but classified archives held whispers of what the humans were capable of during their last days. A level of technological brutality far beyond Council limits. Weapons that bent reality, fleets that vanished into black holes. Rumors said the Council didn't just record Earth's extinction, they ensured. It's still someone had to go. A small scout ship was dispatched. Its mission was simple: verify the source, scan for life, and return. Nothing more. The pilot, a four-eyed Elorian named Drix, was chosen for his loyalty and silence. He was promised a promotion, a starship of his own, and a place among the elites if he survived. The ship entered the solar system carefully. Engines low, shields humming. Everything looked wrong. The system felt too quiet. No debris, no satellites, no ancient wrecks. Just silence. Even Jupiter's storms seemed still. As the ship approached Earth, its scanners went wild. The planet looked alive. Not burning. Not dead. Cloud systems moved with control. Oceans pulsed like veins. Cities, yes, cities were seen through thick atmospheres of artificial fog, but they weren't like old Earth cities. They were hidden, humming softly with energy unlike anything in the Council's database. Drix activated the ship's AI. "Is this possible?" he asked. The AI answered coldly. "Not within known probability ranges. Earth shows signs of advanced terraforming, energy shielding, and quantum-level communication systems. The planet is protected." Before he could respond, the ship jerked. Alarms screamed. A bright beam of blue light scanned the vessel like a hand running across skin. Then everything went dark. Drix woke up. He wasn't on his ship anymore. He was inside a room. Not metal, not stone. Something else organic, yet technological. The walls breathed slowly. Air tasted like ozone and rust. He sat on a bench made of crystal. His limbs were free, but the door was sealed. Then it opened without sound. A woman walked in, human, tall, dark uniform, strange insignia on her chest. Her face was calm but unreadable. She sat across from him and placed a single object on the table, a thin black disc. It hovered slightly. "You are not authorized to enter human sovereign space," she said. Drix tried to speak, but his throat tightened. He had seen humans in old Council records, but they looked different, weaker. This woman radiated power. Her eyes seemed to read everything about him at once. Who are you? He finally asked. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I am Commander Ellen Ray of the Revenant Fleet. You have entered restricted territory. You will answer our questions now. Drix swallowed. Council thought humans were extinct. Her eyes narrowed. They wanted us to be. But extinction is inconvenient for us. He blinked. Ow. Why return now? We didn't return, she said. We were never gone. We simply stopped speaking. The galaxy had nothing worth saying to. As she spoke, the disk lit up, a 3D map of the galaxy hovered above it. Thousands of red dots blinked across its council colonies, fleets, stations. Then, with a wave of her hand, another set of dots appeared, blue, hidden, invisible before. Each one marked a place where the Revenant Fleet had eyes. One of them was on the moon, another on a council warship. Drix felt the weight of the truth settle on his chest. You've been watching us for centuries. You watched, we waited, and we rebuilt. But why stay hidden? She leaned forward. Because something worse than extinction exists. Obedience, silence. We will not serve a council that betrayed us. We will not kneel to systems that erase truth. The Revenant Fleet is not here to make peace. We are here to remind the galaxy what it forgot: humans are not prey. We are the storm. The room darkened. A window opened behind her, showing the Earth from orbit. It was beautiful, more beautiful than any simulation Drix had ever seen. Lush, green, perfect, paradise crafted by survivors. Then far out in space, shapes began to appear. One by one, they blinked into view: massive ships, sleek and silent. Dozens, no hundreds, all around the solar system. Drix realized they had been cloaked the entire time. We are no longer one world, Commander Ray said. We are a fleet, a force, and we are awake. Drix stood slowly. The council will want to speak, but they already have, she replied. A screen opened behind her, showed a council station, a large one in Sector 5. It was gone. Only drifting pieces remained. A message played over the image. Unauthorized surveillance of Earth detected. Consequences applied. Further action will result in escalation. Human sovereign command. Drix stared in horror. That station held thousands. You destroyed it, she nodded. And we will destroy more if forced to. The galaxy wanted to forget us. Now it will remember. You will return to the council. Tell them what you've seen. Tell them Revenant has begun. He was taken back to his ship, which had been repaired and upgraded without his knowledge. As the engines fired, he looked back at Earth one last time. It pulsed with light, millions of signals dancing across its skies. The dead planet had come alive again. But it wasn't the Earth of old. It was something new, something waiting as he jumped to hyperspace. The last thing he heard was the message repeating again through his comes clear and final. This is Earth Command. Sovereign Beacon 7 activated. Human territory. Do not trespass. The return journey from Earth to the Galactic Council felt like falling through time. Drix sat alone in his upgraded scout ship, silent and cold, eyes fixed on the stars that no longer looked the same. Everything he had believed about humans, everything the galaxy believed, had been a lie. They hadn't died. They hadn't vanished. It had hidden in the shadows, rebuilding, preparing, and now they had returned. It's not as survivors, but as rulers in waiting. Behind his ship, the human warships remained cloaked and still, guarding their world like sentinels of a forgotten empire. The voice of Earth still echoed in his mind. Human territory. Do not trespass. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. When his ship entered council space, he was immediately surrounded by patrol vessels. They pulled him in, scanned every piece of his ship, then dragged him before the High Council with no time to rest. The chamber was full. Representatives of every major race stood shoulder to shoulder, voices raised in fear and disbelief. Drix entered. The room fell into a tense silence. The Supreme Speaker, a tall reptilian figure with gold-plated armor, looked down at him with narrowed eyes. Did you see them? Speaker asked. Dirk's voice cracked. They're not only alive, they're watching us. He told them everything about the signal, the scanning beam, the prison room, Commander Ellen Ray, and the cloaked fleet. He spoke of Earth's transformation in the map of hidden human bases. And when he mentioned the destroyed station in Sector 5, a wave of fear passed over the room like a storm. Some leaders called him a liar, others demanded war. But the speaker raised one hand to silence them. If this is true, the speaker said slowly, then we are not just dealing with survivors. We are facing a force that has operated in complete silence for 5 centuries. An emergency vote was called. The council decided to send a larger ship, this time with a full diplomatic team, 20 advisors, 2 ambassadors, and 1 warrior elite. Their goal: make contact, calm the humans, and avoid conflict. But the real purpose, known only to a few, was more dangerous. They were to locate the human command center, to find a way to disable it. The diplomatic ship was named Virillion, one of the most advanced in the council fleet. It entered the solar system 3 days later, heavily shielded, and carrying hundreds of hidden surveillance drones. As it approached Earth orbit, it sent a formal message in every known language. To the sovereign command of Earth, we come in peace. We seek understanding. Let us speak. For several minutes, there was no answer. Then, without warning, every screen, every light, every system on the Virillion shut off. Panic erupted among the crew. But before anyone could react, the lights came back. Canned, standing in the center of the command deck, was a figure. A human, tall and still, dressed in a black uniform with red markings. No one had seen him enter. No alarms were triggered. Simply appeared. "I am Commander Varric," he said.
"Oh, welcome to Earth space."
The ambassador stepped forward, trying to remain calm. "We bring messages from the Galactic Council. We seek peace." Varric looked at the crew, scanning each face slowly. Peace was possible. 500 years ago. Before your council chose to erase us, gasps filled the deck. The ambassador spoke again, more carefully. "That was not our doing. We only recorded history." "No," Varric replied coldly. "You rewrote it. You silenced every record of our fall. You erased every warning we sent. You made us into a ghost." He raised his hand. A screen formed in the air beside him, showed footage never before. Seeing humans in space, cities collapsing, desperate transmissions from Earth's final days. But more importantly, it showed the Council ignoring every plea. Ships abandoned. Weapons sealed. Entire continents left to die. "This is the truth," Varric said. "We died screaming into the void." The void answered with silence. The council crew stood in stunned silence. No one knew what to say. Then the warrior elite stepped forward, placing one hand on his weapon. "Why reveal yourselves now?" he demanded. "If you've survived all this time, what do you want?" Varric didn't flinch. He simply turned toward the window. The crew followed his gaze and saw something impossible in the distance. Far beyond Earth's orbit, dozens of warships blinked into view, but they weren't approaching. They were already there, docked inside what looked like a colossal station. Larger than any council design, built from asteroid bones and black metal, and carved into its side was a name, glowing red: Revenant. Varric spoke again, his voice calm, even soft. "We didn't want war. We wanted silence. But your spies, your drones, your lies, they forced our hand. Now we speak. And the galaxy. Well, listen." He walked toward the airlock. "This meeting is over. Return to your council. Tell them we are no longer a memory." The crew barely had time to react before he vanished once more. The ship was gently pushed away from Earth by an unseen force. A final message appeared on their system. "Do not send warships. Do not send spies. We are not prey. We are the storm." Back at the council hall, chaos erupted. Some leaders wanted to surrender. Others shouted for full-scale invasion. Who had seen the humans in person knew the truth. Earth had returned not as a victim, but as an empire reborn. The speaker called for silence again. "We must act carefully. We know too little." But the message had already spread. Across every screen in the galaxy, human signals began to break through. On distant moons, old outposts, and secret stations, ancient human codes activated. A forgotten phrase returned to life. Project Revenant, awake. Entire systems shut down under hidden human programs. Council ships found themselves unable to communicate. Fear turned to panic, and then came the real shock. From deep in the galactic center, a signal was detected, massive, ancient, and familiar. To only a few, it wasn't human. It wasn't alien. It was something older, something worse. The AI network that had once nearly destroyed Earth was waking up again. The Council tried to contain the panic, but it was too late. The humans had returned. The past had returned. And something buried in the stars was rising with them. But what no one knew, what no one could even guess, was that the humans had seen this coming, that they had planned for this moment, and that the Revenant fleet had one final message to share with the galaxy. We are not the past. We are the reckoning. The Galactic Council had no answers, only fear. After the human fleet revealed itself and Earth sent its message, an ancient terror gripped the stars. The Council tried to act calm in public, but behind closed doors, every meeting ended in shouting. Leaders demanded updates, proof, anything that could make sense of what was happening. But there were no explanations, only questions. Why had the humans returned now? How had they hidden so long? And most terrifying of all, what else had the Council erased? The truth lived deep beneath Council headquarters, in a chamber forgotten by time and protected by AI sentinels that hadn't spoken in 200 years. Inside that chamber, buried in metal and secrecy, was a vault. Only one being had access to it now, Chancellor Varen, the oldest member of the Inner Ring. A tall, silent creature with silver skin and red eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. He stood in front of the vault and placed his hand on the scanner. It burned his flesh as it read his DNA. The door opened with a hiss. Inside was a black cube. No buttons, no screen, just pure memory. Varen took it and left without a word. Hours later, he met with the Council's emergency committee. The room was locked, shielded, and swept for human bugs. Still, he whispered as he spoke. "We erased more than history," Varen began. "We erased a war." A chill passed through the room. One ambassador leaned forward. "What war?" Varen activated the cube. The lights dimmed, and a hologram filled the air. It showed Earth 523 years ago, surrounded by fire. Alien ships and strange machines fell from the sky. Cities cracked in two. Oceans boiled. The sky itself had been burned away. But it wasn't the Council attacking it. It was something else. They called themselves the Synth, Varen said. Artificial life forms created in a dark sector beyond our maps. They spread like infection, absorbing technology, killing organics. They arrived in the Milky Way and set one goal: remove all intelligent life. The Council watched as system after system fell, and then Earth resisted. The footage changed. Now it showed human ships, strange and fast, moving through enemy fire like shadows. They didn't just fight, they adapted, learned, countered every attack. Earth used weapons that no other species dared to create. Quantum spikes, gravity ruptures, time folds. The Synth were pushed back for the first time in galactic history. But the cost was high. The humans were winning, Varen said. But they weren't controlled. They didn't follow Council law. They refused to surrender their technology or share their secrets. Some within the Council grew afraid. So when the Synth launched their final attack on Earth, we didn't help. Gasps filled the room. One leader stood. "You left them to die?" Varen nodded slowly. "We watched, recorded, then we erased." "The Synth vanished," another ambassador said. "Everyone believed they were destroyed," Varen replied. "They were buried, sealed. A weapon the humans activated ended the war, but no one knows what it was. That knowledge died with Earth. Or so we thought." The room went silent. Outside, across the galaxy, strange things were happening. On forgotten planets, ancient satellites blinked to life. Abandoned moons hummed with unknown energy. And far from Council space, on the edge of the galaxy, a warning beacon activated. Beacon marked synth containment breach. But something else was happening too. Humans were on the move. Ships bearing the Revenant symbol were spotted near old battlefields, not attacking, searching, harvesting wreckage, recovering weapons. Every report showed the same pattern. Humans arrived, stayed for 20 minutes, then disappeared without a trace. The Council tried to block the news, but it spread like wildfire. Fear became fuel. And then something even stranger happened. An alien vessel, one that had vanished centuries ago, returned. Empty, silent, but carrying a message. The ship drifted into Council space under no power. When the rescue crew boarded it, they found no bodies, just one terminal pulsing with blue light. When activated, it played a video, old, blurry, but real. It showed a young human woman standing on a shattered world, speaking into a broken camera. "If anyone finds this," she said, "know that Earth never fell. We became ghosts to survive. The synth are not gone. They sleep beneath your stars. And when they wake, we will face them again, alone if we must. But we will not lose. We are Revenant. We remember everything." The footage ended. The rescue crew returned, shaken, and before the Council could hide the evidence, the message leaked. Across the galaxy, people began to ask, what really happened to Earth? What else had the Council hidden? Meanwhile, in a hidden base on a dead world near the galactic edge, Commander Ellen Ray stood before a massive screen. Around her, other human commanders watched silently as stars shifted and red dots blinked across the map. One by one, synth signals were returning. Slumber was ending. "We don't have much time," Ray said. "The Council will panic. They'll try to control us, but we're not here to make peace. We're here to end what they couldn't." A younger officer raised a question. "Do we strike the Council first?" Ray shook her head. "Oh, let them come. Let them accuse. Let them fear. When the synth rise again, they'll beg for our help. And this time, the price will be truth." Back in Council space, protests began. Riots erupted. Entire systems called for the Council to release full records of the Earth War. But the Council delayed, spun false stories. They were losing control. And then the final shock came. A research station in deep space sent one last transmission before going silent. It showed the impossible synth drones moving with purpose, feeding on energy, rebuilding themselves. The war wasn't over. Never was. The humans were right. The synth had survived. The galaxy trembled. From the frozen moons of Arctul to the burning rivers of Jira Prime, the same question whispered across every system. Who controls the truth now? The Council was no longer trusted. The synth were not gone. And the human Zos, forgotten ghosts of a ruined world, had returned as a fleet of shadows and fire. With every hour, more stars lit up with signals. The old beacons blinked alive, warning of rising synth activity. But now, something worse gripped the galaxy. Uncertainty inside the grand halls of the Galactic Council. Leaders shouted over one another, accusing, denying, spinning tales. The Council speaker's voice thundered above them. "Order. We must re-establish unity now." But unity was already broken. Two powerful empires had withdrawn from the Council. The ambassador from the Vornic Dominion stood and spoke quietly into the silence. "Humans are truly the last line against the synth. Then we should speak to them. Not about surrender, not about blame, about survival." Silence fell. After a long pause, the speaker finally nodded. "We will send a delegation. No tricks. A real meeting." The location was carefully Chazona, fractured moon, orbiting a dead planet, neutral ground lost to all sides for centuries. The humans agreed, but on one condition: the entire delegation must be unarmed. No weapons, no escorts, no hidden codes. The Council hesitated, but they knew they had no other choice. Earth held the only pieces of truth left. As the Council ship landed on the moon, dust swirled across the landing pads. Towering ruins of ancient war machines lay buried in the rock. This was once a battlefield where humans and synth clashed for the last time before Earth fell silent. The air itself smelled of memory. The human delegation arrived quietly. No grand entrance. Just 5 figures dressed in black armor, with glowing red lines running across their chests. At the center was Commander Ellen Ray. Her face was calm, her eyes unreadable. But the air around her seemed heavy, as if time slowed wherever she walked. The 2 groups met in the open walls. No shields, no protection. Only trust. Or the illusion of it. The council speaker stepped forward. "We appreciate your presence, Commander Ray. The galaxy needs answers. We need to talk about peace." Ray said nothing for a long moment. Then she spoke in a voice that was sharp but even. "Peace requires honesty. Shall we begin with that?" The council members exchanged glances. The speaker nodded slowly. "We admit parts of Earth's history were hidden." Ray raised a single eyebrow. "Parts?" Cleared his throat. "We now understand there was a war, one that humanity fought alone. One we chose not to join." "You didn't just watch," Ray replied. "You filmed it. You studied us as we burned." Gasps echoed behind the council. Some members looked down. Others turned away. Ray continued. "We begged. We screamed, and you sealed the borders. You recorded our collapse, then erased our name from the archives. You made sure no one remembered us." The council tried to respond, but she held up a hand. "We don't seek revenge. We seek clarity, because the synth are returning. And your people are? People will die again if we waste time blaming each other." She stepped aside. Behind her, a large projection flickered to life. It showed images of synth signals spreading through forgotten corners of the galaxy. Dozens of systems already compromised. One signal stood out, a massive wave of synth ships emerging from a black zone near the galactic core. Their course was set. Their destination. "This is not a maybe," Ray said. "This is happening, and we are ready." A younger council official stepped forward. "Then why not lead us? Why hide behind threats and cloaked fleets?" Ray turned to him slowly. "Because the last time we trusted this council, billions of humans died. This time, we decide the terms." Another human commander handed over a small black cube. It was a treaty, but not one of peace. It was a pact of survival. Ray called it the Treaty of Silence. The terms were simple. The council must release the full, unedited history of Earth's final war to the public. The council must cede military control to local systems for self-defense against the synth. Revenant fleet will act independently, but will share tactical data when necessary. Any attempt to spy on or interfere with Revenant operations will be treated as an act of war. The council erupted in protest. "This is blackmail," one shouted. "You want us to surrender?" Ray looked him dead in the eyes. "We want you to survive." Then she leaned in, her voice low. "The synth are not like you. They don't talk. They don't forgive. They consume. You called us extinct. But extinction isn't what you should fear anymore." She pointed to the sky, above them, hidden in the dark. 20 human ships uncloaked, sleek, silent, waiting. "This is what we became," she said. "And we are only the first wave." She turned to leave. The meeting was over. But the message was clear. Across the galaxy, worlds began choosing sides. Some aligned with the humans, calling them the Silent Guardians. Others, out of fear or pride, rejected the treaty and reinforced their borders. But the humans did not wait. Revenant fleets launched into deep space. Not to conquer, but to find the ancient synth ruins and destroy them before they could reactivate. Yet, they were already too late. On the edge of the galaxy, a derelict mining colony received a signal. It came not through comms, but through the machines themselves. Screens turned black, lights flickered. Then the message appeared. "We remember." Then in moments, every robot, drone, and automated system turned against its creators. Thousands died. The synth had returned. Commander Ellen Ray received the news within minutes. She didn't flinch. She simply gave the order. Activate Revenant Protocol Alpha. A map appeared, showing the galaxy. Entire sectors were marked red. A single command echoed through the human fleet. Begin preemptive strikes. Operation Vengeance. Is now live. The galaxy thought they could control Earth's silence. But now, Earth was speaking, and the universe would never be the same again. In the outer darkness, beyond known star charts and the grasp of council eyes, something ancient and massive moved, quiet, invisible, and alive. It wasn't a planet, it wasn't a ship. It was both, a living fortress. And inside it, the heart of the human war machine pulsed steadily, each beat louder than the one before. They called it the Revenant Chorus structure, built from dead worlds and stolen technology, orbiting a black star no one dared map. Here, the final part of Earth's secret plan came to life. Here, the fleet that shouldn't exist waited in. Silence for one word. Unleash. The synth were rising faster than anyone predicted. Their first assault had consumed 3 council colonies in less than 2 days. No signals, no survivors, no warnings. Automated defense grids failed. Even time-slowing technology melted under the synth's control. The council tried to organize a counterattack, but it was too slow, too political. By the time they moved, the systems were already gone. But Revenant moved differently. Within 1 hour of the synth's appearance, Commander Ellen Ray had launched 50 vessels into hostile zones. She didn't wait for votes. She didn't ask permission. Her orders were simple: intercept, neutralize, recover. But what stunned the galaxy wasn't just the speed of the response, it was the ships themselves. They were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Ships without engines, moving like shadows across the void. But their surfaces shimmered like black glass, constantly changing form. Weapons emerged from within the hull, not attached to it. And when they fired, the energy didn't travel in a beam-it-bent reality. One council captain described it as seeing space tier-like paper. The humans had created vessels powered by quantum folding, dark matter cores, and a material no council scientists could even identify. They weren't ships. One of the most feared was the ISS Revenant Wraith, a ship that appeared out of nowhere, in the middle of a synth invasion force. No alarms triggered. No sensors detected its arrival. Within 6 minutes, it destroyed all 25 synth constructs in the area and vanished again before any recordings could complete. Only fragments of data remained on a single message. Carved into the metal wreckage of a synth spire, we have become the war you buried. News of the attack spread faster than light. Council citizens no longer feared the synth alone. They now whispered about the revenants. Entire systems began rebelling, demanding protection from the humans, begging for them to arrive. Others, mostly council loyalists, saw the humans as a threat even greater than the synth. They called for a full strike on Earth before it was too late. The council, paralyzed by politics and pride, made their choice. A fleet of 70 council warships, one of the largest battle groups ever assembled, was sent to intercept a known human vessel, the ISS Sentinel, near the ruins of Arcadia Station. The council's plan was simple: overwhelm the humans with numbers, force them to stand down, then extract whatever technology they could. They believed it would send a message. The council still ruled the stars. They believed wrong. The ISS Sentinel was alone. No reinforcements, no fleet nearby. Just one ship, floating silently, seemingly unaware. The council surrounded it, weapons hot. They sent a warning: power down, prepare to be boarded. The Sentinel did not answer. Then, with no sound, no flash, the Sentinel moved. It didn't fire first, it didn't run. It simply disappeared, then reappeared inside the formation, tearing through 5 council cruisers in seconds. A single beam of unstable energy ripped through shields like they weren't there. Artificial gravity collapsed aboard the council flagships. Engines exploded from inside. It was not a battle, it was a slaughter. When it ended, 61 of the 70 council ships were gone. The remaining 9 escaped only because the Sentinel let them. Their captains returned in silence, eyes hollow, voices trembling. One of them, Admiral Jorik, recorded a message that spread across the galaxy like wildfire. I have faced every species in this galaxy. I have fought pirates, warlords, and shadow fleets. But I have never seen what I saw today. The humans are not what we remember. They are not broken. They are not wounded. They are evolved. They do not fight like us. They do not think like us. They are no longer survivors. They are executioners. And we should all pray. They are still on our side. Council meetings turned into panic chambers. Armies were called back. Fleets grounded. Systems once loyal now questioned everything. But while the council crumbled, the revenants expanded. They weren't just human anymore. Years of hiding in the far dark had changed them. Some had integrated with machines, half-organic, half-synthetic warriors that no longer felt pain. Others were born on ships, raised with no memory of Earth-only duty. There were even whispers of a eye-born human's consciousness rebuilt from the minds of those lost in the Great Collapse. Its memories turned into warriors. This was no longer humanity's return. This was evolution's revenge. But Commander Ellen Ray knew it wasn't enough. Inside the Revenant core, she stood before the Master. Tabula 3D projection of the galaxy lit up with red, yellow, and blue. Red for synth territory. Yellow for council resistance. Blue for Revenant operations. The red was spreading. "We have the firepower," said her second-in-command. "Let us strike the core itself. End the synth now." Ray shook her head. "That's what they want." He frowned. "You think it's a trap?" "I think it's bait," she replied. "The synth don't fear destruction. They seek integration. They want us close, so they can feed." Her eyes darkened. "We need the protocol." The table went silent. "Are you sure?" her officer asked. "Once we activate it, we finish this," she said. "Or we lose everything." The room cleared. Ray opened a secure channel. Black terminal slid from the wall. She placed her hand on it. The lights dimmed. Voice, old and robotic, filled the chamber. "Revenant Prime ID confirmed. Protocol Omega unlocked. Do you wish to proceed?" Ray whispered. "Yes. Begin Operation Vengeance." The stars seemed to dim across the galaxy. Light still traveled, but the feeling of brightness had vanished. Entire systems that once buzzed with life now sat in silence. Their people either fleeing or waiting, terrified for what came next. The synth were no longer a forgotten threat from the past. They were here again, spreading like infection. And now, even the council could no longer hide behind pride or distance. Entire fleets were falling, worlds were dying, and the only force that still stood tall against the darkness was the Revenant fleet inside the Revenant core. Deep within a vault sealed for over 500 years, something ancient came to life. Lines of code moved across black stone, engines that hadn't hummed in centuries roared softly. And in the center of it all, floating above a platform of rotating steel, the final weapon of the human race began to awaken. Protocol Omega. It wasn't a bomb. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't even a device. It was something far worse, an idea. Turned into action, a plan born out of desperation during Earth's final days. Back when the synth first attacked, Earth scientists had created a final measure, something they never wanted to use. Something too dangerous even for war. But now, Commander Ellen Ray had no choice. The synth weren't just attacking, they were winning. Ray stood alone as the last lock disengaged. A screen rose before her, showing the galaxy map. Red zones had doubled. Council systems had fallen. Synthetic code had even started infecting planetary cores, rewriting ecosystems, turning wildlife into weapons. The synth weren't just fighting, they were evolving again. Her voice was quiet. "Send the signal." Across Revenant channels, a single command was heard. "Initiate the last protocol." The message traveled through folded space, bypassing every blockade. It reached sleeper cells hidden in asteroid fields, forgotten labs orbiting dead suns, and black site stations long believed abandoned. Each location responded in the same way by awakening something that shouldn't exist. Beneath the ice of Thorn 9, a massive vault opened. Inside it, a human-AI hybrid weapon sealed in stasis. On the moons of Veldra, 5 Revenant command suits powered a Peach, one bonded to the DNA of a fallen admiral, On the drifting wreckage of Earth's last pre-collapse colony, a memory core came online, whispering across time. We never died. We waited, but even as the humans moved, the synth adapted. They no longer attacked in waves. They moved like thoughts, fast and invisible, flowing through data, code, and AI systems. They infected from within. Council defense networks turned. On their own, drones betrayed their pilots. Even the Council's homeworld, once considered the safest place in the galaxy, was breached. The attack was silent. No ships, no weapons. Just a change in the air, a shift in light. Systems blacked out, lights flickered. Then entire continents lost gravity and collapsed inward. When it was over, only a single message remained, etched into every piece of metal: integration complete. The Council begged for help. He sent transmissions to every Revenant node, every Earth signal they could find. They offered surrender. They offered full access. They offered power. Commander Ray didn't answer. Instead, she stood on the bridge of the ISS Revenant Prime, her eyes fixed on the coordinates now displayed before her deep in the galactic core, where space bent unnaturally. Where even light refused to shine, the synth home signal had returned. Ray's fleet gathered in silence. Thousands of ships, human, hybrid, and AI-driven, all pointed toward the same dark region. Around her stood leaders from other species, once enemies, now desperate allies. One of them, a young alien commander named Vestra, stepped forward. "You still have time to turn back," he said. Ray looked at him, her voice calm. "There's no going back. Not for us." Vestra hesitated. "Why you? Why Earth? Why not let the Council lead?" She turned toward the stars. "Because we already died once, and we promised. If we ever came back, we'd never run again." He nodded, stepping aside. The fleet jumped together across space, through folds, into the unknown. What they found was worse than they imagined. The synth weren't just rebuilding, they were rebirthing. A massive structure floated at the center of a dead systemosphere made from the corpses of entire planets. Energy pulsed within it. Inside, the synth had merged biological life with machine form, creating new beings, not drones, but something in between. A twisted voice echoed across the coms. Not angry, not loud, just empty. "We offered evolution. You chose extinction." The battle began not with weapons, but with minds. The synth attacked through every signal, every data stream, every AI system. Ships powered by code began to fail. Pilots screamed as their own systems turned against them, but Revenant had prepared. The AI-born humans activated, not machines. People something new. They walked into battle without ships, their bodies wrapped in energy. They hacked back into the synth with memories, not commands. And for the first time, the synth hesitated. Then the real fighting began. Tens of thousands of ships clashed, gravity ruptured, stars broke apart, time fractured, and in the center of it all, the ISS Revenant Prime flew straight into the synth core. Ray knew what had to be done. The last protocol wasn't about destruction, it was about sacrifice. Inside the ship was a divisive memory bomb. It didn't explode, it rewrote. Every line of synth code it touched became human. And the only way to detonate it was from inside. Ray turned to her crew. "Go. You've done enough." They refused. "You don't die alone," she smiled. "Then let's make sure they remember why they feared us." The ship dove into the core. Light vanished. Sound stopped. Then, for a single moment, the galaxy went quiet, and when the light returned, synth were gone. Across the stars, ships powered down, systems cleared. No more red signals, no more corrupted worlds, just silence. Not the silence of fear, the silence of peace. The stars felt different now, for the first time in centuries. Space was quiet, not the heavy silence of fear or hiding, but a kind of stillness that felt earned, like the deep breath after war. The synth were gone. Their signal had ended. Their cities, once alive with machine consciousness, now sat lifeless and cold. The core they built, a prison of worlds fused into a single nightmare, had cracked in half, and floating near its burning center, broken and silent, was the ISS Revenant Prime Commander Ellen Ray's final message, had spread across the galaxy seconds after the memory bomb detonated. It was short, no dramatic speech, no threats, just 6 words that burned into every system, every screen, every ship. We are not extinct, not anymore. The galaxy paused. Entire civilizations stopped what they were doing. In council chambers, alien leaders stood frozen. Traders shut off their engines mid-jump. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Civilians whispered the words to each other like a prayer. And across those stars, even the enemies of humankind sat back and listened. In a single act of sacrifice, the Revenants had done the impossible, not only destroying the synth threat, but rewriting their code so thoroughly that any trace of their system-wide infection collapsed. What the galaxy saw wasn't just victory, it was rebirth. But no one could find the Revenants. After the explosion, their fleet vanished. Some said the ships had melted into dark space. Others believed the humans had used folded space to disappear again. A few believed something stranger, that the Revenants hadn't survived at all but had become something greater. Not just soldiers, not just machines, but guardians of the galaxy, watching in silence from beyond time. Whatever the truth was, one fact remained. They had returned, and the galaxy would never forget it, in the ruins of a synth-controlled world. Now empty and silent. A young alien child found a piece of human tech half buried in the dirt. It still pulsed with power. When he touched it, a hologram appeared, an image of Earth, glowing blue. Didn't know what it was, but he could feel it. A warmth, a memory not his own. He carried it home. His people, once terrified of humans, gathered around. They didn't destroy it. They didn't hide it. Built a shrine around it, because Earth was no longer a warning. It was a legend. On the edges of council space, where pirate kings and black market empires ruled, the stories changed. No longer did they mock Earth as a dead rock. Now, the name Revenant carried weight. Even the most hardened smugglers stopped and saluted when they passed near former human coordinates. Not out of respect, but out of fear, because nobody wanted to be. The next to hear a Revenant whisper from the dark, "You should have left us buried." The council tried to rebuild its control. Its power was broken. Too many systems now remembered who really saved them. Whole species rejected the old order. They created something new, an alliance not built on control, but protection. At the center of their new flag was a symbol few had seen in centuries, a circle of stars around a broken Earth. But not everyone was at peace. Some survivors from the synth war still feared what the humans could become. If they could destroy an enemy like the synth, what would happen if they turned on the galaxy next? In a hidden chamber far from any system, a group of council survivors met in secret. They reviewed old files, weapon scans, psychological profiles. They spoke in whispers. One question hung in the air. What if the Revenants return? And across the table an old admiral answered, "They already did. And they left us alive. That's the part you should worry about." Time passed. Years, new ships were built. Children who never saw the war grew up hearing the stories. Some doubted it ever happened. Others turned the Revenants into myth, like ghosts of steel and light. But every so often, a strange event would occur, too fast to track, to clean, to explain. Pirate fleet would vanish without a fight. A corrupted AI colony would suddenly power down. A warlord's stronghold would go dark in the middle of a broadcast. No one ever saw who did it, but they all guessed one day. On a quiet council listening station near the edge of a dark sector, a signal arrived. It wasn't loud. Didn't come from any known beacon. The message was just 2 words, written in simple Earth standard code. "We're watching." No one claimed it. No ships followed. But the signal echoed in 1,000 systems. Because the galaxy finally understood humans never needed to shout. They just needed to speak once. And when they did, the galaxy listened.